Guys, what is up? It is Penners Gaming. Today I'm bringing you something new. This is my very first poker vlog. If you didn't know, poker is something very close to my heart. It's something that I love to do. I've streamed it many times and I just love playing the game. It's just one of the most thought-provoking, interesting games. It's just a game of who can outthink who can trick who better. And I just love the game. It's very interesting, very complicated, and just so many complexities to it, while at the same time you can make money. So today we are going to be playing 1-2. I buy them for $500 effective, and we are going to play some good hands. If you guys could let me know what you think of this video down below, and if you could leave a like and subscribe, that would be amazing. Let me know what you think I should do in the future. Thank you very much. Now let's get into some hands. In the first hand I'm going to talk about, we have pocket sevens on the button. It folds around to me and I raise to $15, and we get one caller from the big blind who is a very, very loose recreational player. So we have $33 in the pot, and the flop comes down the 10-9 of hearts and the 4 of spades. Not the best flop for our exact hand, but against his range and our range, a lot of the times I'll have hands that can beat a 10 or beat a 9, and lots of times that will be all he has here. A lot of the times he just has like Jack 10 offsuit here. Occasionally he does have 10-9, 9-8 he has a lot. Just hands like that where he just, very moderate hands. He'll call $15 in the big blind with pretty much anything that hits that. Also, a bunch of just random flush draws that I can deny equity from by betting. So I bet out $15. A lot of the times I'll do that, just bet the same on the flop or pre-flop and the flop to keep a lot of hands in. You know, I think with pocket fives, pocket sixes, he calls here too. So I get calls from a lot of hands I'm beating, and you don't really want to try and overvalue bet. Then it becomes a big bluff. So he calls the $15. There's now 63 in the pot, and we head to the turn. The turn comes the deuce of clubs, and he checks to me. I think a lot of the times he just has a low pair, or maybe a 8 or 8-9, something like that. A lot of the time, Jack 10, or a flush draw. So I decided to put a small band that would get value from things I was beating, and he would just call with plans to just check down the river. He raises me to $80. He raises a lot with random hands. You know, a lot of ace highs, a lot of straight draws, things like that. I've seen it many times in the past. So for $45 more, I don't think I can fold. So I call, and the river comes down good for us. 7 of clubs. The only hand that gets there is Jack 8, which Jack 8 probably would stay in there, but he decides to shove, and of course, rivering a set, I'm going to call, and he shows Jack 10. So I did suck out there. I was kind of questioning my line, but I've seen him just bluff so much on like those turn raises that I think I'm fine to call there, but he definitely had me beat this time. Maybe me calling there so many times is why he decided to bet like that on the turn. Either way, worked out for us. This second hand, I'm just not gonna lie to you guys, just a complete mess, went right off the rails, but it happened, so gotta include it. So the loosest player on the table raises to 15. His arch enemy 2 seats to his left raised 35. Then he gets what I think is 4 callers. So I think there's like 175 in the pot. I look down, ace queen of diamonds, raise it to 150. As it turns out, the lady on the button had min raised it to $70. So I pretty much min raised her. So it folded around to her. She shoves for $300. And then the dude in between us, who's a complete maniac, and I I've seen him isolate in such weird spots. I've seen him isolate with King 9 suited before, with 4-3 suited one time, actually, and he made a flush. He's just happy to get it all in. So, he gets it all, or he throws it all in for $700, and I assume I have to be ahead of him. So, I call. She flips over kings. I'm not surprised there. He flips over pocket 9, so I'm in decent shape there. Definitely not the worst, and overall for how much money there is in it, I'm not in that bad a shape. So, the flop comes out, the deuce of hearts, deuce of diamonds, 3 of clubs. I got backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw. The turn comes the sits of the sits of hearts. That doesn't help me at all. And then the river comes the 9 of clubs. And he rivers a boat and takes it all home. Crazy hand. I should not have been in it, but I got in it, so I had to stick with it. Alright, so I rebuy in for 700 or 600, sorry. And it's time to go. Let's start again. In this next hand, I've been playing relatively loosely. On the button and the cutoff, I got suited connectors, so I raised both of them, but neither of them ended up being in big pots. I have about 900 in front of me, and I look down in the hijack at 2 queens. So I raised $20. The player on the button, who's a more loose aggressive player, raised 60. So I call with intent to call down if no overs come out. See where I think if you 4-bet someone like this, a lot of the times you just get them to fold their weak hands. I think 3-bet bluffs they have a lot of, but 5-bet bluffs they don't. So when you do raise here, you end up in trouble a decent amount of the time, I feel like, with queens. When they actually do shove on top of you. Because when they shove on top of you, either they have ace-king and you're flipping, or they have you crushed. And that's not a good option. So I call, and the flop comes pretty good. It comes the sits of hearts, the 8 of hearts, the 6 of diamonds, and the queen of clubs. So, I check with my top set, and he decides to bet out $80. So I could raise here. I think raising gets him to fold a lot of like ace-king, ace-jack with like backdoor flush draws, backdoor straight draws, things like that. So I'm just gonna call here, and the turn comes the jack of hearts, which adds a ton of draws. For example, like ace king of hearts, things like that just picked up a straight flush draw. A lot of decent hands just picked out at least a straight draw, if not a pair. So I'm going to, this jack technically favors my range a lot over his. 10-9 makes it, and a bunch of other, or not a bunch of other hands, but I make a bunch of 2 pairs. So I decide I'm going to bet out $225. He thinks for a second and then calls. I think he can have a lot of draws here, a lot of straight draws, a lot of flush draws, things like that. And the river comes, the worst card in the deck for me, the ace of hearts. So now I'm losing to pocket aces, I'm losing to king 10, I'm losing to any hearts. So I check, and of course he shoves. Realistically here, I'm not going to get here with many flush draws besides jack 8 of hearts. And other than that, all I'm going to have is 10-9 that actually beats my set. So I'm at the very top of my range, and I know he's kind of bluffy. With how much money's in the pot, I only have 575 back, and there's 1,300 in the pot. So I decide I'm just going to call, and he flips over 9-7 off for complete air. He flopped an open ender, but I won. and we took it home. So in this next hand, a maniac raises under the gun once again to 25, gets 3 callers, and I look down on the button at pocket kings. So I raise it to $75, and it folds around to the big blind, which obviously it's not very far to fold around. But he rips in his stack for $1,200, which is 600 big blinds. It folds around to me, and I kind of have a decision where 600 big blinds is an incredibly big shove. Realistically, he should only ever do this with aces, but do I think he's not doing this with like ace, king, kings, queens, jacks? I think he is sometimes. Maybe not a decent amount, but I think queens plus he's probably shoving. And kings is way too good to fold, I feel like, even for this many blinds. That might be a mathematical mistake, but at this table, everyone's a little bit crazy. So I call, and of course, he flips over the bad news. He has aces. He has the ace of clubs and the ace of hearts. I have the king of clubs and the king of spades. So luckily not overcoded as well. The flop comes out decent, though. It is queen of clubs, 10 of diamonds, and the king of diamonds. So we flop top set once again, and he doesn't have a diamond, so that's good. The run out comes the 4 of diamonds on the turn, which obviously doesn't matter because neither of us have them. And then the river is the 6 of hearts. We take down the pot. It was a $2,500 pot. And now we are doing very, very well. So next hand, it's getting closer to the end of the night. And I look at ace, 4 of diamonds under the gun. And I just decide to limp $2. What the hell? So the player who raised me with 9-7 off earlier raises 10, gets 5 callers. So I decide to call, join the party. And we're going to the flop 6 ways. The flop comes the queen of diamonds, the 4 of clubs, and the 2 of spades. I flop middle pair, backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. Definitely the type of hand you're going to call most bets with. So it checks around, and the button, who's probably the loosest player at the table, most aggressive, bets out $30. I call, and there's 2 callers behind me. So now there's $180 in the pot, and the turn comes the deuce of diamonds, giving us a backdoor flush draw, but we do miss our backdoor quad draw with 4s, which is what I was really counting on here. So we check, and it gets around to the player on the button again. This time he decides check. River comes out the king of diamonds, so now we have the nut flush on a paired board, $180 in the pot. I think any king, any queen's gonna call a $100 bet here. So I bet out $100. Obviously, any deuce will. And it folds around to the player on the button, who thinks out for a little while and decides to call. I turn over my hand, and he flips over Jack 10 of diamonds, so he actually rivered the second nuts, or a second nut flush along with versus my nut flush. So he made a great just call and didn't lose the maximum. In the last hand, we have King Jack suited on the button. There are 4 limpers to us, and I raise it up to $20. The big blind calls and the 4 limpers call, so we're going to the flop 5-way. Sorry, 3 limpers called. We're going to the flop 5-way. So the flop comes ace of spades, 6 of spades, 10 of clubs. So this is a great flop for us, obviously. We flop a gut shot straight draw and the nut flush draw, and we're going to continue. So when it checks around to us, we bet out $75, and only the big blind continues. The turn is a great turn. It is the 4 of spades. So we have the nuts, and there's about $200 in the pot. So actually, there's 250. Sorry. So I bet out $100 or $200 to try and get all in since he has about $600 left. He thinks about it for a little bit and then calls. And the river is the deuce of spades. It's not the best card to get called by other hands. And we end up deciding that we block the first and third nuts, but it might look like a bluff if we just shove here. Because how often are you taking this line with the king of spades only in your hand? Occasionally, but not that often. So I shove and he's just sitting there frustrated. He says, I got there and you're still betting? He quickly decides to call, and I turn over my hand, and he flips over Queen 10 with the Queen of Spades. And we are good, and I take home another big pot. So we finish this session in for 1,200, out for 4,000. It's a very good session by anyone's standards, and I ran very good that night, and I definitely don't expect to run that good all the time, but I was very happy that the first episode of the vlog, I ran well. If you like this, could you please leave a like and subscribe? You could also tell me what I can do better and what you think I should change. Either way, have a great day. I'm out.